Welcome everyone to our third webinar of the month on sustainable design. And today's session is called Artisanal Craft in Sustainable Spaces with Native Trails, and Tim West, who is the Director of Sales of the West region, is with us today. And I want to also thank Gebrit for their generous sponsorship for today's session. And Tim, we're ready to get started. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you, Debbie. So again, my name is Tim West. I'm the Director of Sales for Native Trails out here on the West Coast. So thank you for coming on today. And again, thank you to Gebrit for sponsoring this event. This class is called Artisanal Craft in Sustainable Spaces. And our contact information for Native Trails is all listed on the bottom right of that first slide. So we'll go ahead and get started here. We're going to talk a little bit about all kinds of different things in this presentation. So if you have your notepad ready, so I'll go ahead and get started. So this course discusses the value of bridging cultures and combining artisan heritage with innovative design, and illustrates how the craftsmanship of furnishings made by hand with sustainable materials can meet today's design goals of green design. Artisanal handcrafted fixtures and furnishings are not only unique, functional, and aesthetically appealing, they can establish a sense of connection with the maker. Many artisanal handcrafted products are made using contemporary techniques, others using traditional techniques that have been passed down over time, often from generation to generation. So we have 5 objectives we're going to be talking about during this CEU class. The first is to discuss artisanal craft in terms of its local and global economic, environmental, and social impact, and explain why artisanal craft can be part of the philosophy of sustainable living today. Second, we'll examine the ethics involved in making and consuming artisanal craft and realize how they can affect handcraft in their building design projects and an occupant's experience in a private or social shared space. Third, we'll recognize why the look and feel of sustainably made handcrafted kitchen and bath fixtures and furnishings can enhance an occupant's situational awareness by bringing about a positive emotional response to their surroundings while fulfilling functional needs. Fourth, we'll identify a variety of sustainable and reclaimed materials often used in artisanal crafts for home, commercial, and hospitality design, and discuss the importance of material transparency to the maker and the consumer. Finally, we'll describe the methods used to recycle copper, reclaim wood, and create sustainably made concrete, and evaluate the performance benefits of products made of these materials. This CEU is registered with the Interior Design Continuing Education Council, or IDCEC, for continuing education credits. If you do need to have this registered on your behalf, please go ahead and contact me directly. My contact information will be listed in these follow-up to the CEU. This is registered as a 0.1 CEU value, and Native Trails does report this on your behalf. Obviously, this is part of NKBA as well. It's registered as 0.1 CEU value, and to receive CEU credit, you will need the above course number, course title, and CEU value. If any of you are with AIA, this is also part of an accreditation process. We are accredited by them. So there's our provider number and the course number as well for you to be able to load that in on your own as well. I'll leave it up just for a second here so you can write that down. All right. And we're going to move into a quick discussion of table of contents real quick. So first, we're going to talk about an introduction to artisan craft and sustainability, followed by artisan craft itself, sustainability factor, sustainable material examples and profiles, artisan craft in sustainable hospitality and residential spaces, and finally the conclusion with our resources. And with that, we'll jump right in. So the terms artisan and craft can make people intuitively curious about a product's characteristics and want to learn its story. Artisanal handcrafted goods are generally associated with a single artisan or a small workshop of craftspeople as their maker, with a local, often small-scale channel of distribution. More often than not, consumers see the values, which are authentic, cultural, and traditional, behind an artisanal product as being as important as its functionality and aesthetics. How can artisanal craft be sustainable? So this course will examine the social, economic, and environmental benefits of combining artisan heritage with innovative design and natural sustainable materials to meet the needs of green design. It illustrates how craftspeople from all over the world can contribute their unique skills to the production of a diverse range of quality products for local and international markets. Often these makers are preserving traditions and fostering a positive impact that resonates throughout their communities. And now we'll move on to section 1 to discuss artisan crafts themselves. So behind every artisanal product is a person who uses their creativity and specialized craft skills to design and handcraft a unique product. This hands-on process ensures their products are one of a kind and cannot be replicated through modern mass production practices. Inherent variations from piece to piece are what make their products unique. Nearly every craft or folk art tradition has a unique story, and these stories vary from culture to culture. In communities around the globe, a craft story and the craftsman hand-to-eye skills are commonly passed down over time from generation to generation, sustaining not only their livelihoods, but their cultural heritage as well. You can see the artisan here is crafting using actually a wine barrel that he is crafting into something else. And this is something that only this artisan can be able to do, as it's been passed down from generation to generation. An artisan's work can have a distinct traditional, cultural, or even symbolic look and feel. Design elements may reflect the artisan's relationship to nature, people, or place. Their cultural lens and personal observations shape how they see, what they make, and the materials and finishes they use. Artisans typically become material specialists, and by mastering their materials, they discover creative opportunities that another designer or artist may not see. Artisans typically share their knowledge with each other and learn through their mistakes as well as their successes. The decision to use local, renewable, or repurposed materials is often as much practical and financially based as it is environmentally influenced. Other times, it is more costly to use sustainable and/or local materials. The Aspen Institute's Alliance for Artisan Enterprise, which supports the power and potential of the artisan sector, states the artisan sector is the second largest employer in the developing world after agriculture, worth over $32 billion every year, and over 65% of artisan activity takes place in developing economies. According to UNESCO, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, the creative economy is one of the most rapidly growing sectors of the world economy and a highly transformative one in terms of income generation, job creation, and export earnings. Artisans may produce their wares in an artisan-based cooperative or larger workshop, where they work side by side with other artisans and may be assigned a specific role in handmade production processes. So during the Victorian era, a group of artists and social reformers denounced the effects of mechanization and industrialization on the design of everyday consumer goods in the lifestyles of ordinary people. This led to the arts and crafts movement, which encompassed a wide range of design disciplines, including architecture, furniture making, interior design, and the decorative arts. It also asserted that while factory goods were affordable, quality had been sacrificed for quantity. The wares were inferior and poorly made. It also recognized the value of learning traditional craft skills as a means to maintain high standards of design. Finally, it reestablished the medieval system of trades and guilds to train craft workers. William Morris, who lived from 1834 to 1896, was a designer, textile artist, and one of the arts and crafts movement's figureheads. He also sought to improve society by bringing art to all economic classes. He encouraged consumers to value hand craftsmanship and to only furnish their homes with well-made items, believed designers should have working knowledge of the natural materials they selected to use, and inspired craft workers of all abilities to be both the designer and maker of their products. By the late 19th century, the arts and craft movement had expanded from Europe to America. Gustav Sickley, who lived from 1858 to 1942, was a furniture maker, publisher, and the chief proselytizer of what became known as the American craftsman style. This style stressed the need for simple designs and honest construction, encouraged people to handcraft furnishings using local materials, and combined factory methods with hand finishing techniques to produce his furniture designs and to help keep his pieces affordable. The movement eventually lost momentum. The idea of bringing art to the masses was lost as the makers who needed to earn a living offered their labor-intensive handcrafted items at a price point that could only be met by a select few. Artistic-based enterprises built on handcrafts simply could not make enough goods for a growing population, and by the time the war ended, creating and producing things by hand was no longer a feasible or practical approach to living. The ideology of the arts and crafts movement maintains its influence in today's creative handmade economy. The predominance of mass-produced goods and scarcity of handmade goods has led to an enhanced appreciation of artisan products. Handmade artisanal goods have seen a resurgence in markets around the globe, and consumer interests have evolved to include sustainable, environmental, ethical, and socio-cultural values. Developing countries who are trying hard to modernize and catch up with the world may view their artisans as a lower socioeconomic group. Outside of their home community or country, artisan work and traditions may be more highly regarded. The challenge is for individual artisans to connect with those markets. An artisan living in a remote rural area or one who is isolated in a city core may not have the means to access an urban marketplace in their geographic region or the business skills to thrive there. In countries where the artisanal sector is not highly appreciated and supported, it can remain fragmented and obscure. The craft can disappear over time as the youth opt out of the artisan lifestyle because they don't see it as a way to make a good living. If traditional crafts are allowed to fade, not only is the economic value of the artisan sector lost, a significant component of the country's shared cultural heritage will be lost as well. Various avenues of support exist to help create viable, fair, sustainable opportunities for artisans and their products to reach new audiences and markets. Programs that support the livelihood of artisans are offered by governments, not-for-profit organizations, and craft associations around the globe. Fee-based business development services tailor their advice in craft product design, production, and management to the specific challenges of artisanal business. Collaborative partnerships between artisans and businesses also exist as well. Before a product that combines artisan heritage with contemporary design is made, it is important to ensure that the design and the artisan process are complementary and that there is enough control over the final result. Production capacity determination is critical at this point. A smaller independent artisan workshop may require support of an outside organization or a partner business in order to increase its capacity to fulfill the demands brought by a new market or opportunity. The design concept stage includes determining both the capabilities and limits of the envisioned craft process, and a modification to either the design or the process may be appropriate. The inconsistencies that make a handmade product truly unique are absolutely desirable, but they must not be so great that the product differs substantially from piece to piece. Consumers and designers must be able to order a product from a picture or sample and feel confident that it will work in their space. And as Nancy Fire, the design director for HGTV Home, states, imperfect is the new perfect. And if you look at the picture here, that is a vanity that may have inconsistencies from piece to piece because of the way it was manufactured and the wood that it is manufactured from. All right, we'll move on to section 2, the sustainability factor. Companies that consider success to be defined by not only their monetary bottom line, but also by the impact they have on society and the environment are practicing the triple bottom line approach. They take responsibility for the full cost of their business, profit, people, and planet. They consider key environmental impacts of a product across its lifestyle beyond cost, quality, and appearance requirements. And they aim to generate as much utility and enjoyment possible out of the smallest possible quantity of resource over the longest possible or most appropriate period of time. Long before the environmental movement began, craftspeople can be linked to the practice of using locally available natural materials and the recycling or upcycling of locally found resources. Today, sustainable craft continues to play a strong role in protecting and caring for the environment through responsible use of resources. Yet it's also about stimulating employment, enhancing people's lives, and preserving cultural heritage. Manufacturers who work with artisans are not only responsible for bringing an artisanal product to the marketplace, they have a responsibility to encourage artisan independence and growth. Every product should be designed in accordance with fair trade standards to support equitable working relationships and have a positive impact on the artisan, their family, and the community. Knowledge about how the product is made and what it is made from can easily be identified and described and transferred to the purchaser. With many mass-produced goods, the components are not apparent. Even if listed, they may be unknown to the consumer. Manufacturers and artisans can enlist third-party certifiers to verify their claims of environment and health impacts. These third-party certifiers include Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, Green Guard, and Cradle to Cradle Certified Products Program. A third-party green product certification ensures the evaluation of the product is independent of the product manufacturer designer, indicates a product meets specific industry standards, and offers the consumer, designer, or specifier greater assurance that a product's claims meets certain sustainability practices. And with that, we'll go to section 3, sustainable material examples and profiles. We're going to be talking about several different types of sustainable materials here. The first will be recycled copper, which loses none of its qualities over repeated recycling. Concrete, which can be made more sustainably when a percentage of the cement component is replaced. Reclaimed wood, which reduces dependence on milled lumber and can preserve forests. And finally, FSC certified wood, which ensures a sustainable source and chain of custody. So there's some pretty cool facts on this page, and I want you to make sure that you take a note of this. There's 2 of them actually on this page. So scientists estimate that the Earth is home to more than 8 trillion pounds of copper, and that we've only mined about 1.1 trillion pounds of it so far. 80% of the copper mined over the last 10,000 years is still in use. That's one of the most powerful pieces that is in this copper section, and really almost in this presentation. If you look at how much of the copper that's mined in the last 10,000 years, we use still that much because of its recycled capability. All copper, it can be recycled no matter how it was used originally. Processed recycled copper is almost indistinguishable from newly minted processed copper. Copper's recycling value is so high that premium scrap is usually worth at least 95% of the value of newly minted copper ore. And the recycling of copper utilizes up to 85% less energy than primary production of it. Many hospitals are converting operating room surfaces to copper, and also doorknobs and push plates where harmful bacteria can reside and spread. Copper kills the bacteria quickly and significantly reduces the spread of harmful bacteria and viruses. If you look here, it states that uncoated copper fights the growth of microorganisms and bacteria that cause food poisoning, colds, and flu. And a copper surface can kill 99.9% of dangerous bacteria, such as E. coli, within hours. Since we're in the middle of what we're all doing right now with the pandemic and all, I will point out that there was a study done during the early part of the pandemic that stated that the coronavirus or COVID-19 can only survive about 4 hours on uncoated copper materials. So again, a very positive thing for an unexpected benefit of copper there. So master coppersmiths in central Mexico have a deep understanding of their material. They continue to handcraft products using many of the age-old methods of their ancestors. The profile presented here is an example of how copper is being recycled and crafted into kitchen and bath products for the international market. The typical process of making hand-hammered recycled copper products begins with discarded electrical wire, construction copper, and pipes. These are melted into an iron crucible. Once the metal is molten, it is cast into an ingot, a brick of copper that is then milled into a sheet and hand-hammered into its final form. Each item is worked by hand, and detailed steps can take days or even weeks to complete. A single basin, like you see here, can require 30,000 hammer strikes or more. Copper welding is another technique used, and you see here 2 proportional basins welded together to create a double-walled lavatory sink. Next, we'll move on to concrete. So concrete encompasses a range of products and processes. Sand and gravel are mined, usually quite close to their point of use. Cement is made primarily from limestone, heated and combined with other elements, then crushed into a powder. As such, decorative elements and fixtures are sometimes formed from concrete. For these decorative elements, much finer stone powder is mixed with cement instead of sand and gravel to create a much smoother and richer look and feel. This chart is also one of my favorite parts of the presentation. So I hope you've got your thinking caps on and go back to your physics classes. So here you go. If you're interested in this chart, please let me know after the class and I will be happy to send it to you as it has some very powerful information that when you first look at it, you don't think about it. So this talks about embodied energy. So it's rated in megajoules per kilogram or and how much CO2 per kilogram it takes to make a product. So as shown here, concrete is one of the least energy intensive materials one can specify in a bathroom or kitchen design. So you look at that number of 1.11 megajoules per kilogram versus say your most popular pieces in the kitchen and bath world, which is ceramic sanitary ware, otherwise known as porcelain. It takes 29 megajoules per kilogram. Another big one would be glass or ceramic tile. Those are both quite high as well. So look at using concrete as a replacement for something like porcelain as much as possible. So how do you even further reduce the environmental impact of concrete? You replace as much cement as possible with other materials. With material that would normally be landfilled, such as fly ash, a waste product from coal-fired power plants, granulated blast furnace slag, which is a byproduct of iron smelting, or silica fume, a product of silicon metal production. Natural or renewable materials can also be used to replace a portion of the cement, including volcanic ash, recycled glass, fines from limestone processing, rice husk ash, and a renewable agricultural waste, which is jute fiber. Jute is a vegetable fiber traditionally used for making rope, twine, burlap, and heavy-duty packaging. This can be combined with cement to improve the mechanical properties of concrete. It produces an extraordinarily strong material with high tensile strength and high resistance to cracking, scratching, and staining. And in addition, this type of concrete can be approximately 40% lighter than traditional concrete. Jute offers both environmental and performance benefits. It is a rapidly renewable resource as it grows in tropical wet climates from seed to maturity in 4 to 5 months. It does not rely on fertilizer to grow, is 100% biodegradable and recyclable, and jute that is harvested near the concrete production point can help to support local communities as well as minimize transportation emissions. Using jute in place of iron or aggregate creates a stronger and lighter concrete product. As noted on the graph on slide 38, ceramic sanitary ware produces nearly 10 times more carbon in production than concrete does. So reclaimed wood is our next piece that we're going to talk about, and it is a lumber that is reused from old structures. Old barns, factories, warehouses, fences, and railroad ties are common sources for reclaimed wood. The environmental advantages for reclaimed wood are repurposing timber that might otherwise be discarded, keeps it from going to the landfill, and eliminates the need to utilize standard milled lumber. Reusing wood preserves forests, and processing reclaimed wood has a lower impact on the environment compared to the felling, transporting, and processing of virgin timber. Because reclaimed wood has typically been exposed to the elements over time and fully cured, it won't be susceptible to the same shrinkage and movement that newer wood is. It also has a unique character due to its history and age, and no two pieces of reclaimed wood are ever alike. And the visible wear marks and nail holes, the often deeply textured wood, and tacit knowledge of its former life add depth and character to pieces made from reclaimed wood. And we talked about that earlier when we were looking at that other piece, when I mentioned that no two were going to look alike. So now we have reclaimed wood from winemaking. Many wineries use oak wine barrels and staves to add character to their wine. But once the oak materials end their useful life in winemaking, they're commonly discarded. Oak staves that have been submerged in wine tanks for an average of 9 months become enriched with the color of the grapes. Repurposing these modest yet high quality materials eliminates the need for standard milled lumber. Upcycling this wood is possible through a careful process that includes wire brushing to remove residuals from the winemaking process, and each piece of wood is unique as a result of prolonged contact with the wine. The process of reclaiming, preparing, and building furniture with this material is painstaking and laborious, but the result is an incredibly durable material and a very unique design aesthetic. Last up, we have FSC, or Forest Stewardship Council wood. So the Forest Stewardship Council serves to promote management of the world's forests in a socially, environmentally, and economically responsible way. FSC certified wood has an identifiable chain of custody. What that means is that the material has been tracked through the chain of processing, transportation, manufacturing, and distribution to the final consumer. It also has been grown and processed in a socially and environmentally responsible way. And now we move on to section 4, artisan craft and sustainable hospitality and residential spaces. So sustainable materials aren't always what come to mind when envisioning artisanal products and luxury fixtures and furnishings. Aesthetic, style, and functionality are of utmost importance, though increasingly homeowners and specifiers are making decisions based on environmental considerations as well. They are looking for furnishings and fixtures that are constructed of durable and earth-friendly materials. This section of the course will examine a number of projects that incorporate sustainability as a design driver. Around the globe, the hospitality industry and its stakeholders are recognizing that sustainable building represents an enormous opportunity to positively impact the quality of a hotel space. USGBC's Lead in Motion Hospitality Report provides a snapshot of how hotels across the world are incorporating LEED and other green building practices into their spaces, changing the way hotels are designed, built, and operated. The second spot right here where it says currently there are more than 2,070 hotels participating in LEED, representing 1.1 billion square feet. Of that, there are nearly 400 LEED certified hotels comprising nearly 134 million square feet of space. It's really cool to be able to see that. So we'll jump into one example here, which is at the Al Sahel Villa Resort in Anatanara, Sir Bani Yas Island in Abu Dhabi at the Arabian Wildlife Park. Offers an up-close glimpse of natural beauty. Copper bathtubs were specified to complement each of the private villa's luxurious and eco-friendly surroundings. The resort shares its home with over 10,000 free-roaming animals and harmoniously coexists within this haven of natural wildlife. And to maintain the island's ecological and conservation legacy, all elements were considered were subject to environmental, social, and economic performance scrutiny. The next one is actually the Big Cypress Lodge in Memphis, Tennessee. I've been to this place. It's actually really cool. If you go, it's like the largest Bass Pro Shops ever. It's a giant pyramid. Looks like it's made of glass. So if you're ever in the Memphis area, if you're in the Memphis area, go check this out. It's just an amazing site to go see. So Johnny Morris, the founder of Bass Pro Shops, designed the lodge to help people reconnect with their love of nature. The lodge offers 103 rustic, distinctively appointed rooms and suites, which feature fireplaces and handcraft furniture. Hand-hammered copper sinks were installed in the luxury suites. The lodge's environmental plan focuses on wildlife and habitat management, chemical product use, water management, energy efficiency, waste management, and education and outreach. The lodge actively promotes sustainable resource management to create a pattern of human activity that can be supported indefinitely and produce less dependent on non-renewable resources. So those were a couple examples of hospitality, examples of sustainable pieces there. Now we're going to talk about it in residential design as well. Today, many home builders, designers, and consumers are committed to finding greener products options for residential interior design spaces. So back in 2016, 2017, ASID's Interior Design Outlook and State of the Industry reported that environmental protection is an important part of the context in which designers operate, and consideration of this factor is made at nearly every step of the process for most projects today. Individual designers and their clients make design decisions that add up to a project's ultimate impact and use green product certifications to aid in the process. According to National Association of Home Builders, 31% of home builders report that more than 60% of their projects are green, and 51% expect to be doing that level of green work by 2020. So here we've got the Rustic Mountain Residence in Lake Tahoe, California. This was designed by Diana Vincent of High Camp Homes. A copper soaker tub was a natural fit with the project's use of reclaimed wood, slate, and bronze fixtures. The bathtub was also the perfect shape and scale for the room's alcove. Vincent often selects copper because she feels its mix with rustic design is timeless, no matter how old the piece may be. It holds its appeal, especially when mixed with reclaimed wood and other natural elements. And Diana gave a nice quote here. Our philosophy is to work with natural materials and to do with what is right by the environment. This ultimately always lands us in a world of sustainability and eco-conscious design. This other one here is a hammered nickel bar sink at a private residence in Newport, Rhode Island area. This was designed by Jocelyn Chiappone of Diggs Design Company. This wet bar uses compact symmetry and a blend of modern and classic to create drama. At its center is a textured brushed nickel bar sink. All the glitz is tempered by natural material like a marble herringbone backsplash and hand-scraped mahogany countertop. And we are now at section 5, which is our conclusion and resource tab. In conclusion, designing spaces with artisan crafted elements is a way of adding a unique aesthetic and much more. Artisan craft can be a rewarding and pleasing way to increase the sustainability factor of a space. It can bridge cultures and bring a sense of humanity to that space. It is also a means of supporting the continuation of valuable craft traditions and their positive impacts on communities. Artisanal craft can connect people who live in different ways, but may share common values regarding the well-being of our environment, society, and well-being. And artisanal goods are typically chosen for their level of quality, aesthetics, sustainability, and function. Their inclusion in interior design can also support skilled craftspeople and preserve cultural and artistic traditions, as well as help artisan businesses and their communities to prosper. Before selecting an artisanal craft product, consider how the product is made. Is it made from sustainable materials? How does the production of the product impact the environment? And what is the artisan's relationship to the product? And will its purchase support and empower them? Thank you for your time today on this, and I will leave this resource page up for just a minute. If any of you are interested in our resources, please don't hesitate to contact me. I am happy to send you a screenshot of these 2 pages so that way you can have that. And again, thank you so much for your time today. And again, thank you for Geberit for sponsoring this CEU, and have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you, Tim, so very much for this great presentation.